Well, Ian, first of all, why do you do the type of thing that you've done this morning? What do you get out of it, and what enjoyment do you get out of it?
There's two different reasons I do them. When I'm not on the road, which can be sometimes 7 or 8, 10 weeks, I don't get a chance to play. It gives me a great opportunity to keep my mind and my body in trim to actually do the work that people expect of me. So it's because you can't sit in a practice room and do it. You have to be in front of people, where you get it right, or you made you're not allowed to make mistakes. In a practice room, you can do what you want. So it's a discipline that you need to keep up. So that can really help me at times. And then when I'm on tour like I am now, I get so many requests from fans, old and young. They want to ask questions, they want to know how I did, why I did something. And it's a way of taking care of all that. Because there's a lot of young musicians out there who don't have the same break I had when I was growing up. There aren't the gigs to play. They don't have the advantage of getting all this knowledge quickly, which my generation had. So without being too sort of saintly about it, I can pass on a lot of really useful information in an hour and a half, which can save them years of messing around and doing the wrong things and wasting time. And also, there's all the questions about people, music, things that have happened, which they want to know. And I understand when I'm accessible like this, it doesn't hurt my personal image and career either. So it's generally a very good idea to do them. I don't like to do too many because much of what I do is telling stories. And if I'm bored with the stories, I can't tell them properly. So it has to be limited to a few a year.
It certainly looks as though, when you're up there on stage today, that you quite enjoy it. Once you get going and once you get out of bed, it does appear as though it's a bit of fun for you.
There are a lot of guys out there doing really serious musical clinics, and that's fine. I can't do that. I don't know enough about it. But I've found, since I've been doing them, I'm very comfy on a microphone at the front of the stage. I start with the premise that these people have come to see me because they like me. So, I think I'm on a winner anyway. They haven't forked out $30-35 to come and have a horrible time. And if I can entertain them for a little while, I'm quite happy doing it, and they all seem to go over with a big smile on their faces, so it seems to work right for everybody.
Do you find that sometimes you learn a bit too from other drummers that get up and suggest ideas or ask about ideas?
Oh, yeah. Nobody is sort of paramount. There's always somebody got something that you've never thought of, that you can use, that inspires you. Oh, that was clever. How did he do that? Yeah. And it could be a 15-year-old kid, and it may be the only thing he can do. But you go, Christ, that's pretty cool, And you find whatever inspiration he's given, you find a new way of using the idea. Because blatant plagiarism is not a great idea. When you're there to be shot at, you try and make a smaller target as possible. So nothing is original. Everything comes from somewhere. But if you find something that you hadn't thought of, you think, oh, if I change this note and change this tempo and maybe change the time signature, you found a new piece to play. And it's not his; it is yours. You've taken the inspiration, but you've actually moulded a new form from it.
Ian, we spoke to a few people as they were coming in, and the one word that they mentioned as to why they still like Deep Purple after all these years is the passion which you guys play with. How do you sustain that passion?
When you start playing an instrument or painting a picture or whatever art or doing sports, you do it because you like it. When you're a kid, you do these things because they're fun. And if it becomes your career, sometimes it's hard to hold on to that fun aspect because not everybody feels like doing it every day. But if you can hark back to when you were a kid, doing it the first time, you can sometimes dredge that emotion out and it becomes fun. You think, well, the first time I belted a snare drum, it really felt great. What was that feeling, And you try and find the 16-year-old kid in you, 15-year-old kid in you. And if you can do that, you go on stage and it all falls into place. It all just becomes easy. And you remember what you did it in the first place for. You didn't do it to become famous, you didn't do it to earn money, you did it because it was just a great crack, a great buzz.
a couple of things that you said up there sort of struck a chord, and that one of them was, you know, the fact that music nowadays has become predictable. It's based on technology. How much do you lament that? And you know, eventually, with the ongoing of Deep Purple and other big name bands, are you worried about the future of music?
I don't think you can worry about the future of music. It tends to be cyclical. Machines will always be here, but then again, players will always be here. There's a marriage happens sometimes between the two disciplines. I don't have to like it. I tend to feel that music is best created by people and only people. The machines are there, and if they can add something, well, yeah, fair enough. But whatever they give you, they also take away from you. There is no free lunch, and everything's a compromise when you start messing around with electronics. And the first thing to suffer, of course, is the feel and the ambience of the music.
Now, obviously, Deep Purple had a reputation, you know, 25 years ago, of being hard rockers. Can you and playing hard as well as, you know, playing hard both on stage and off stage. Can you still do that now?
On stage is exactly the same. Certain things change, you know, you jettison some things and you bring new things on board. Off stage it's different. We're not 18, 20, 23-year-old kids anymore. And so there are other things in our life which are slightly more important than getting rat-arsed every night and being slightly debauched. You know, most of us are married, we've got families, we have other things that we do when we don't make music. When we were kids, we didn't do anything else. We played music and we partied. There was no time and no want to do anything else. So we're different people. So that sort of answers your question, you know.
Do you look back at those days and think sometimes, how did we get through it and live to be as fit as we are now?
Again, that was always down to the individual. I mean, there were guys who were never going to see 40 years old. You could see it in them. They were the kids in the candy store, you know, and they didn't know when to stop. And there was no telling anybody, but you could see them going off the end of the rails, and it was just a matter of when. And there were other people who were sort of more firmly based with their feet on the ground, and you just knew they'd be fine. And generally, they were the more intelligent ones.
Final question: are you enjoying it more now than you did when you were younger? Do you appreciate it more now?
I appreciate it in a different way. I appreciate that one day it may not happen like this anymore. Not that I won't play music, but you know, a little bit of fame is a great thing. It's very nice to be pampered occasionally and looked after, and you know, be made to feel a little special. Nothing wrong with that at all. I don't think I could handle it 24 hours a day, 52 weeks a year. I don't think I could do that. You know, I do like to be able to go down the pub, and I do like to nip down the supermarket and get stuff without being pestered by people. That's easy for me. I'm not that high profile. I mean, I did some work with Paul McCartney about 15 months ago, and that's a totally different thing. Paul cannot go anywhere, do anything, without it being like a production. You know, and that, a lot of fame, you give up a lot of personal freedom for. You know, I don't think I'd want that.
How much longer do you think that Deep Purple can keep on going?
It'll go on as long as we want to do it, and that really comes down to the first guy who says, I've had enough. And at that point, it's a matter of saying, well, the rest of us wish to continue with somebody else? Would that be acceptable to the public? Or have we had enough? And then on the other side of the coin is if nobody comes anymore, that's a real big sort of clue that you've outstayed your welcome.
No sign of that yet?
Not yet, no.